All right, everyone, would like to welcome Rory McIlroy to the Media Centre here at the 2025 BMW Championship. Rory, you're a three-time FedEx Cup champion. You've won this tournament in 2012 and you're making your 15th start here. Just talk about your pro-am this morning, golf course, first impressions.
Yeah, good to be back. I thought the tournament here 4 years ago at Caves Valley was really cool. Felt like it was the first really big crowds post-COVID. So it was really cool to play in that atmosphere. I guess they're anticipating big crowds again this week, so that'll be cool to play in front of. And yeah, I mean the golf course is it's a little different than last time. 18 completely new green complexes. It's definitely the whole golf course is a little drier than it was last time, and definitely think it'll provide a lot more of a challenge this time around. So yeah, it's good. It's a good setup. Greens are they've got a bit of firmness to them. You got to put the ball in play, and yeah, it's going to be a good week. I'm excited to get back at it.
All right, we'll jump straight into questions. If anybody has a question, just raise your hand and we'll get you a microphone. It's hard to see up here, so we'll start with Paul right here.
Rory, just playing off the golf course, just wondering in particular that 18th hole, I think last time it was here, that was the hardest hole on the golf course. Just wondering kind of what you see about that hole that makes it a difficult finisher.
Yeah, for me, it's a little bit of an awkward visual off the tee. They've moved those bunkers a little closer to the tee this year. So if you want to take them out of play, you're going to be leaving yourself quite a long way back. So you really got to challenge those bunkers up the left, and obviously you got the creek on the right. It's it's all about the tee shot. If you get the tee shot in play, I feel like it's a gettable hole. But yeah, for me, I could hit three. As I said, I could hit 3-wood and maybe leave it short of those bunkers, but it leaves you 7-iron in. Or you can challenge and hit driver and get yourself a short iron or a wedge. Really just depends how you're feeling with the tee shot. But it's a great finish. It's a great the last two finishing holes. I mean, 17 is a lot longer than it used to be as well. It's looking back at the playoff between Patrick and Bryson there a few years ago. It's not going to be a 9-iron or whatever it was that those guys were hitting in. So yeah, it's a big golf course. A couple of those par 5s previously are now par 4s. I think they're going to. I think 12's probably going to play the toughest hole this week. But yeah, it's a big golf course. You gotta drive it well, and even from then, there's a lot of sort of mid to long irons out there.
Anyone else? Next. Fergie, do you have a question?
What do you think of
5 is it's obviously they've tried to make it a risk reward hole, but I just don't know if the risk is worth the reward. It's just a very, very tough green to go for off the tee. And if you miss the green at all on the right in that rough, it's going to be almost impossible to hit the green with your chip shot or so I think you're just going to see a lot of guys lay up there and take the 100-yard wedge shot and try to make 3 that way.
What kind of risk did you take as you in the pro-am today?
I played the other side, but I hit driver. I played that front side on Monday, and I hit a good tee shot. It just sort of caught the false front and went over to the left near the hazard, and it was a decent chip up the green. But it's just a little, if you're thinking, sometimes I think we think about these risk reward holes too much in isolation, and instead of thinking about the entire week. You got 72 holes to play. You play that hole 4 times. I think if you play that hole in 1 under for the week, you're probably doing well. So, and I'd back myself to make a birdie there from the fairway, with a wedge in my hand, instead of trying to hit a little chip shot out of some rough or so. I think you're just going to see a lot of guys lay up and take their chances with a wedge in their hand.
And then last thing from me, you are a 3-time season-long FedEx Cup champion. Are you the season-long champion if you win next week, or is whoever wins next week? Can you consider that a season-long champion when you just get to East Lake and win one tournament?
I mean, who knows at this point?
That's why I asked you.
I don't know. I think it's hard. You know, it's like, yeah, every other sport has, or every other American sport has playoffs, and you know they sort of try to make a big deal of the end of the season. And I think it's hard. And I come from a place where, like, the Premier League, Liverpool won the Premier League last year with 5 games to spare. You know, that's sometimes what happens in sports. Sometimes you have guys, or you have a team that is just that much better than everyone else that season, and they are the deserving winner. So I think from a player perspective, it seems like the consensus was that people didn't like the starting stroke, so to get rid of that is a good thing. But I now think that the Tour Championship not being starting strokes is, it's sort of its own thing now. You obviously you win the Tour Championship, which then means you win the FedEx Cup, but I don't necessarily think that means that you're the season-long winner, unless Scotty Scheffler wins it, and he is the season-long winner. But everyone knows Scotty Scheffler is, he's won 2 majors this year. He's head and shoulders above the rest in terms of the points going into this week. He'll be ahead of everyone going in, in the points going into next week. So he's deservedly got his bonus all the way through. And then everything resets, and it's sort of, I guess I see it as more of a one-off event rather than the culmination of the entire season.
Doug, can you hand that to Bob, and we'll go over here to Adam first.
Rory, they're calling this kind of a bridge year with the Tour Championship. Is there something that you would like to see change to make it even more compelling for the future?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously been a lot of discourse about should these playoffs be mandatory or not, or, obviously I didn't play last week, and is that something that they need to look at? It could be something where, and I've heard this idea kicked around where, everything resets after Wyndham, and then the top 70 just play for the top 50 spots to get into the next week, and then everything resets again here, and then the top 30 from this week then make it to the Tour Championship. I mean, if you want to try to make it straight playoffs and elimination, I think that would be a good way to go. But you're trying to balance a lot of different things. You're trying to balance the competitive integrity of what the playoffs are, but you're also trying to keep the media rights partners happy. You're trying to keep the sponsors happy. They're the people that are paying the big bucks to expect the big names to be playing in their golf tournaments, and that's a delicate balance.
If you had gone from being number 2 back to the very end at 50 for not having played last week, would you have still skipped?
Yeah, I'm playing 9 times between now and the end of the year, so I think by the time October, November comes around, I'm going to be glad of that extra week off, yeah.
Okay. And as you try to figure out kind of new goals, I'm curious, is being a Ryder Cup playing captain something that you aspire to? Is that something?
No, I've been asked to do that, and I've turned it down.
You've already been asked to be the captain?
No, the idea of me being a playing captain sometime soon coming up has come up, and I've shot it down straight away.
Yeah, why?
Because I don't think you can do it.
We'll go to Bob, and then over this side.
Hey, Rory. I don't know if you publicly said it, or maybe you did in an interview a long time ago. You sort of telegraphed that you weren't going to play last week. So it wasn't maybe a big surprise, but obviously there was some reaction to it. Wouldn't you think, though, or do you think that maybe you're a little bit the outlier? You just mentioned that you've got a big schedule coming up, where most of the guys don't. Especially the American guys, they're kind of done after next week, except for the Ryder Cup. So I'm just curious if you think you're maybe the outlier. Guys aren't typically skipping $20 million tournaments.
No, and a lot of the guys aren't 18 years into their professional career either. It's I feel like I'm in a little bit of a different position than some of the guys, and as I said, I'm playing 9 times between now and the end of the year, so I've still got a pretty busy stretch coming up, and I just think that extra week off, will do me good, with the events coming up, and some big events that are important to me: Irish Open, Wentworth, obviously the Ryder Cup. I want to try to win my 7th race to Dubai over in Europe as well, and there's some things that are still important to me that I want to go play in, and that was a big part of the reason why I wanted to take that extra week off last week.
We'll go front left down here.
Rory, could you just elaborate on why you think it would be so difficult to be a playing captain?
I just think the commitments that a captain has the week of, you think about the extra media that a captain has to do, you think about the extra meetings that the captains have to do with the vice captains, with the PGA of America in Keegan's case, preparing your speech for the opening ceremony. Just there's a lot of things that people don't see that the captain does the week of the Ryder Cup, especially now that the Ryder Cup has become so big. If you had said 20 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, I think it was probably possible to do. But with how big of a spectacle and everything that's on the line in a Ryder Cup now, I just think it would be a very difficult position to be in. So I just think for those reasons. And then, the captain isn't going to be on the course all day. So really the captain's only going to be able to play 1 session on Friday, 1 session on Saturday. Would you rather not have a player that has the flexibility to go twice if he's playing well? And, there's a lot of different things that go into it. And that's why I think, look, it's just my opinion, but I think it would just be very difficult to do.
I think you played with Keegan at Hartford.
Yeah.
Just this. Is that right?
Maybe the first couple of days. Yeah.
Just the state of his game. Like, what do you see from him as a player right now?
I definitely think he's one of the best 12 American players right now. That's why everyone's so interested, and it's such a compelling case, and it's going to be, I'm just as interested as everyone else to see how it all plays out.
All right. Does everybody have what they need, or we have more? Just Mike for Doug.
If you were a captain at some point, what would you look for in a pick? What would stand out to you? Form, meshing?
Meshing. Meshing. You have to be able to blend in with the rest of the team well. Maybe already have a partner in mind that you could play with for foursomes, and then maybe for the better ball also. And I think that adaptability and that flexibility, having someone that can go 5 if they're playing really well and they're playing well that week. And yeah, that's something that, someone that the rest of the guys are really comfortable with. You don't want to have a fox in the hen house.
All right, last one, right here.
Yeah, and then just a little bit of a change of pace here.
Thank you.
As you end off. Obviously, you've made a lot of money in your career. Do you remember what you spent your first tour paycheck on?
Yes, a watch.
A watch?
With diamonds around it. It was horrific. I can't believe it was like... It's like the worst purchase ever. It was so bad.
Do you remember the make and model?
I do. It's not the make and model that I'm sponsored by now, so I'm not gonna say it.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks everybody. Rory, appreciate it. Have a great week.
Thank you. 20 grand.